Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday, the 22nd of January 2017. And we had a busy weekend. Myself and Steve were down at the David Icke show yesterday. He was in Dublin in the Helix Centre. And we had 12 and a half hours. It was a long show, but we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But before we do that, to let you know where our guest on the show tonight is Dr. Joseph Chiappalone. We had Dr. Joseph on the show in November 2015, and we thought we'd get Dr. Joseph on again just to give us an update on any news that he may have of what's going on, because we do know the world is going a bit nutty. And the energies are affecting an awful lot of people. So we're going to be talking to Dr. Joseph all about that. But before we do that, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, communication channels this evening.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Yes, the phone number is 046 927 1212. If you want to call in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's going to be 00353 469 27 1212. If you do, hopefully the phone line will work. What else have we got? We have the anti-social media Facebook. You'll find the links to Facebook and Twitter and the email and Skype and all those forms of communication on the website oymradio.com, and on the left hand side you will see all the links, and also a link down the bottom to the TuneIn Radio application for your iPhone, your smartphone, your tablet, and that will get, well, you can listen to us 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, so that's there as well. Big hi to everyone logged into the chat room on oymradio.com and also on peoplesinternetradio.com as well. We're going to be monitoring both of those chat rooms for questions for our guest this evening.
Fantastic stuff. Now, as I said, the weekend was a busy weekend between David Icke being on in the Helix, 12 and a half hours, and that's 12 and a half hours doesn't even include the travelling time. It was
an hour down, an hour back.
No, so it was a very long day for myself and Steve yesterday. A big thank you to Scott and Maureen for gifting the tickets to us to go and see David. The information, some of it, if you know David Icke and seen his information, he did talk about stuff we're familiar with, and some of the other stuff was kind of stuff we've heard before, but kind of rehashed as well, with a few new bits thrown in as well. So it wasn't too bad. It's good information. And obviously yesterday was Ireland's Independence Day, which was the turning of the Sovereign Seal. I'm sure there was people in Dublin for that. Plus there was a big protest on as well. So a very busy weekend for a lot of people in Dublin, just to let our international listeners know. Now, I know there's a lot of protesting going on over in the US regarding Trump. We're going to be getting into that, and we'll probably talk to Dr. Joseph about that as well, and get his take on what's going on. But yeah, just a long day with David Icke, but as I say, the information wasn't too bad. Steve?
No, the information was quite good. I kind of found, personally speaking, that at the beginning, the first quarter, he was kind of starting from scratch. He was really kind of educating people who may not have heard of him before or heard of the information. So we kind of knew a lot of the information, although it's kind of the similar information that you had out a long time ago, but he's kind of repackaged it and maybe brought it up to date for a new audience. But yeah, it was educational, informational, and I know we had been saying that it didn't look like, from what I could see online when we were checking out tickets, it didn't look like that the event had actually sold out. But I have to say it was full to capacity yesterday. So yeah, he did fill the Helix. I think it was about 2,000 seats. So yeah, it was quite an interesting day, a long day sitting on the seats. I have to say, thanks to the Pain Genie. Well, I was going to say thanks to the Pain Genie. I was contemplating, as I said to Alan earlier, putting the Pain Genie pads on my rear end last night when I got home, because it is a long time to be sitting down. So the next, if we ever do go to one again, I'm going to bring a fold-up bed. Yes.
He had the numb bum. Right.
I did indeed.
Okay, you're going to tell us all about, I don't know whether it's fake news, but you're going to read it. You're going to read it out to us anyway.
Yes, this is from rte.ie, the Rothschilds Trivial Entertainment over here in Ireland. Whether it's to be believed or not, we don't know, but we just read it out and let you decide for yourself. But it says the President of the High Court, Judge Richard Johnson, has said dishonesty by solicitors has got to be stopped. Judge Johnson made the comments as he fined two solicitors €1,000 each.
100,000.
Not 100,000. Oh my God, €100,000 each, in order that their work shall be overseen by another solicitor for 2 years. The fines were imposed on Sean Acton and Michael McDarby of Ballinrobe, County Mayo, who had previously been found guilty of misconduct by the Solicitors' Disciplinary Tribunal. The tribunal had previously ruled that Mr McDarby and Mr Acton should be fined for professional misconduct after being employed for opposing parties in a traffic accident. The two also had been censured in relation to alleged charging of a levy in personal injuries actions, despite their costs already being covered by the insurance companies. In February, they pleaded guilty to 6 of the 9 charges against them, but were found guilty of 8 of those charges. Judge Johnson said he had considered suspending the pair for 2 years and said they had demonstrated a capacity for dishonesty. Lawyers for the pair told the court that they had sincerely apologised for the wrongdoing and had taken action to correct it. The court heard the case had a devastating effect on their families. And why wouldn't it? They've just been fined €100,000 each.
Well, this is it. You can't really trust solicitors nowadays. That's just the way it is. You just have to be very choosy and very picky. So just be aware of that.
We've been saying that for a while actually, because we both know a solicitor in Dublin, and we have mentioned it before, who was struck off for misconduct, and I think it was misappropriation of funds. Yeah,
so just be careful. It was resting in his account, apparently. How's your week, Steve?
Yeah, my week's fine. Not too much to report. Yesterday was the highlight, the pinnacle of the week, was when we went down to David Icke. So I have to say that just kind of, that tops the whole lot. It really, really does. It was a great day. And again, I want to say as well, a big thanks to Scott and Maureen for those tickets. And we had a fantastic day. Scott, Ian and Jim, fair play. Thanks for coming down. And we had a nice chat with you guys as well. What else am I going to say? The only other two maybe items that I'm going to throw in here. I was watching a YouTube video, nothing to do with like what we talk about here, but just to do with kind of saving energy and what you can do with all the junk mail that comes into your home. And again, this is something we talked about a couple of years ago, and it's just coming back up on my radar. There is a video where a guy, all the junk mail that comes in and any old newspapers, he keeps them, throws them into a bucket with holes in it, and he pours water in on top of that, makes like a paper mache, dries it out, and uses the logs on his fire. And he said each one will burn for like 2.5 hours. And he said it's a great way of getting rid of old newspapers and junk mail. And God knows we get enough junk mail. And unfortunately, what we do here is we get the junk mail in, and then we put it into the recycling bin. So we're getting it in, and then we're getting charged to get rid of it. So obviously making your own wood blocks is a fantastic way of getting rid of that.
Can I just add a bit on the whole recycling thing?
Yes.
Something that we also said in the show before, which some people are doing, is getting all the junk mail and putting it in an envelope and sending a free post to the likes of Bank of Ireland or Allied Irish Bank and stuff like that, because they might like to see the junk mail.
They might.
And it's free post, so it won't cost you anything.
Yeah, but then if they make wood out of it, wood blocks for the fire, and I'm losing out.
I don't think you will be.
No, probably not. What else? There's just one more thing. Again, it's in relation to YouTube videos, and again, I mentioned this to Alan this evening. We were having a problem with the old vacuum cleaner at home not doing what it's supposed to do, and the amount of information that can be found on YouTube is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, for some of the old home appliance repairs, you need kind of specialist tools, and obviously when I say specialist tools, special screwdrivers, the likes of Torx screwdrivers, which you can actually get. They're not that expensive, but again, I think from start to finish, we had a problem with the vacuum cleaner, and it was fixed and back sucking up the dirt within 10 minutes. So yeah, fair play to the YouTube videos. And there's another just kind of following on from that, there is another kind of like YouTube that Alan put me onto, and it's vid.me. VidMe. So we're actually looking at that at the moment, because that looks like it could be a contender for in the running for, the number one spot against YouTube, because as we were finding out yesterday, YouTube, Facebook, and Google, they're all kind of in collusion, in cahoots, and they're all connected to people who want to watch and track your every move. So it's nice that there are other things that where you can move away from the big boys, so to speak. So VidMe is something to check out, and we probably will set up an account, and we'll talk about that at a later date. There we go. That's my week in a nutshell. How's your week?
Brilliant stuff. Just before we bring Dr. Joseph in, just one thing. There's all the marches in the States that have been going on regarding Trump, and all the women kind of getting together and saying that they don't like Trump because he's a misogynist and all this kind of stuff. And what I can't understand is, now we know Soros funds a lot of these, the Move On group or the Move It group, and we know he funds a lot of them, but surely the people who are not part of the funding surely they've had to realise that, like, Obama has been blowing the hell out of the Middle East for 8 years non-stop, and not a word has been said. But now that Trump is a misogynist, now they want to go and protest about it. So surely they have the priorities wrong, surely.
Well, Obama was a president for peace.
Oh, yeah, of course he was, yeah. Which peace was he looking for?
Well, I don't know, the missing peace. But yeah, I mean, when you get the Nobel Peace Prize, obviously you're the president for peace.
It was a piece of the Middle East, I think.
Absolutely. But that's what he was saying there, what David Icke was saying yesterday. And we already knew that since Obama got in and then got re-elected again, there hasn't been one day that they weren't involved in war.
Exactly, yeah. That's it. And then people giving out because Trump is saying he's a misogynist. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to bring our guest in. Dr. Joseph, he's been on the show, last time he was on was November 2015, and it was great to have him back on to find out what's going on, because the world is changing massively. We're seeing an awful lot of energy changes, and it's driving some people doolally because they're not coping with the energies, and you can feel it. There's just something in the air. So we thought we'd get Dr. Joseph back on just to give us an update on what's going on. And plus, there's a couple of things that Dr. Joseph said when he was on our show that we'd like to clarify with as well, the last time he was on. So without further ado, good evening, Dr. Joseph. How are you? Hello, Dr. Joseph? Oh,
he was there a second ago.
I was there a second ago. We hung up. We'll give him a call to see if he's there again.
No, just actually checked, and he was there.
There was a mobile phone. It's a mobile phone to Australia. Good evening, Dr. Joseph. Are you there?
Yes, hello. It just dropped out for a moment.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, we're very lucky to have a connection. So it's great to have you on. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you quite well, thank you.
Brilliant stuff. We are calling, just to let our listeners know, we are calling Australia, and it is about 5:15 in the morning. So we do appreciate Dr. Joseph getting up at 5:15 to take this interview. So thanks very much, Dr. Joseph.
You're welcome.
Now, before we get into the interview, for some people who don't know who you are and your background, do you want to give us a bio of who you are and what you've been involved in before we get into talking about what's going on in the world?
Yeah, sure. I'm of Italian origin. My family migrated to Australia in 1952 because of the post-war conditions there. I was then educated in a Catholic school, went to medical school in Melbourne, Australia, studied medicine for a while and then practiced medicine. And then I went out into the metaphysical world and started writing and lecturing on various things because I had specific instructions on what was I had to do and what I had to say to people. I came across a very strong brick wall against what I was saying, so I just quietly went on to about my own business until all the changes that I predicted occurred, and now we are right at the very end of what's called the end time. And all the work has been done. We've selected who is to continue and who is not to continue. And I have a clear understanding of all the mechanisms that are going to destroy the physical world. That's about it in a nutshell. Okay.
Now, as I said there just before we got you on, that the the planet seems to be going through an awful lot of changes at the moment. There's a lot of people, so much going on, and there's a lot of people saying they're feeling these energy changes. Some people aren't dealing with it. Now, the one thing I want to say, which is very, very important, is that when you came on the show the last time, you talked to us and told us about this thing called viables that's on the planet. And you said there's viables and non-viables on the planet. And the viables are the people who are awake and aware and they understand, they get it. And the non-viables are just kind of the robots, the people going around who don't have a clue what's happening. Now, it's important to say that 3 of the guests that we've had on the show, one of them being Paddy Broussard, one of them being Simon Parkes, and then Thomas Williams, and they all agree in their own way. They had different names for the people, but they all agree that, I think Thomas said, the difference between organics and synthetics. Then you had Paddy was saying about robots and avatars, and Simon had his take, and the numbers was between 8% and 12% of the population were kind of genuine people, and everything else was kind of robotic, avatar, synthetic. And there's 4 different people that we've had on the show who have all said the same thing. So that makes you kind of think in itself. So just for people that, if you want to go into detail regarding the viables and the non-viables, Dr. Joseph, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay. It's a little bit complicated, but I'll take my time and discuss this, right?
Okay.
Basically, we are all physical, right? We're all got physical bodies. We are the 4th class of consciousness as humans. You've got the mineral class, the vegetable class, the animal class, the human class. There are higher classes. We won't worry about those. Now, the all have a spiritual component, but some of them are genuinely spiritual. Others are not genuinely spiritual. In other words, they are mechanical. They are synthetic, and they are the result of what's called a celestial error in this universe. They cannot continue. They can't last. They haven't got a soul. Now, how they got here and that is due to the error, and it's not important for this discussion. However, some of them have been modified so that they can continue. You have to understand that every universe has there are many universes, has a beginning and an end, right? Okay. This one has come to its end. 96% of it has already been destroyed. We are in the last 4%. If any of your readers or listeners are aware, scientists can't find 96%, and they've called it dark matter and dark energy. It has been totally destroyed. Now, the 4% now includes our galaxy, which is dying. And as it's dying, it's releasing energy, what are called plasma waves, that are heating up all the solar system that we're in and destroying the sun. The sun is dying, the earth is heating up, all the planets are heating up. In other words, physically we're doomed, but spiritually, some of us are going to survive and the others won't. Now, there are 3 levels of understanding that people have. Let me go through this because this is important.
Okay.
You have the basic understanding that some people have, and that's what I call the prosaic understanding. That they know they are alive, they breathe, they eat, they breed, they have children, they grow old, and they die, and that's the end. Some of them know that they go to heaven or hell and so on, which is nonsense. But there are things like the etheric plane and astral plane, which I won't get into now. There is a second group of who have an understanding, which I've called the esoteric understanding. They know about aliens. They know about more about psychic events. They know about continuation, about reincarnation, and so on. It's rather New Age-ish. And that is also entombed in this illusion, because we're living in an illusion. which is about to end. The third level of understanding is what I call the supramental consciousness. Now that comes from the true soul. You can't make that up. Once you connect to that, you know exactly what's going on. You know whether you're viable or you're not viable. If you're not viable, you actually can't connect to that supramental consciousness. And once you connect to that supramental consciousness, you know that this is the end of the physical existence and that you're going elsewhere. We're going elsewhere. Now, it was I that wrote an essay in 1999. I said that approximately 1 billion souls had been removed. That's the viables in preparation for the destruction of this planet. And that the percentage that's left now is this. 9% are viable, the rest are not viable. And the rest are made up of 66% of human bodies have now got partial or complete demonic possession. The other ones are just simply robotic. Because it is the end time and because we've been promised we'll have restored our spiritual vision, those of us who are awake can see these demons. And most of them are reptilians in human form. And you'll even see photos of them and movies of them on YouTube. They shape shift and so on and so forth. Now, these are demonic entities that come from the lower levels. Some of them are class 5. They are a class above, but they are malignant creation. They're an artificial creation. They are mechanical, part of this era. The bad news is that they control the world. Now, and you know this, these are the elite.
Would you call them the Archonic network because Archons who are the controllers?
Yes, well, Archons is just a Greek word meaning the magistrates or rulers of the community. Sure, we can use that word if you want to.
Yeah, okay.
But they're basically class 5. They're mechanical. They have no emotions. They have no empathy. They have no love. They have no compassion. They can do things like you were just talking about, Obama, bombing everything in sight, like the idiots that did 9/11. They could kill their own people just to start wars. They can kill millions, like 500,000 children, just to grab the oil. These are vicious, malicious machines. They haven't got a soul, and they won't exist. Now, how we're bringing an end to this is by cutting off all the energy to the sector so that the whole system is fragmenting because it's running out of energy. And this is very easy to understand if you know anything about thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics specifically states that once a usable energy and in an enclosed system expires, the whole system collapses. And we are in an enclosed system. This universe is an enclosed system. It was doomed from the very first day it was born, like all universes are. The good thing is that in good universes, once the experimentation is finished, they move on elsewhere. In this one, has been a creation of these machines. They're actually machines. They're not spiritual in any way, although they occupy human bodies. They are now going to be totally destroyed, and these demons are totally destroyed. Now, I know this doesn't make much sense to people who haven't got any nous, any inner understanding. And without that understanding, they're not going to understand anything I'm saying. And of course, this will resonate with viable people and say, oh, thank God, the end is coming. We're free from all this malediction.
Now, I will say,
That's where it is.
Can I just jump in there? Two things that you said there I'd like to kind of comment on. I've just finished a book called Proof of Heaven, and it was written by a neurosurgeon who did not believe in, that there's something more after death. And he had a near-death experience. And he come back.
Yes, I read the book.
Yeah, very good book. Read the book. But he mentions in that book the 96% of scientists saying that there's nothing there. So he just kind of to confirm what you said, he was saying it too in the book. Obviously, he's done the research, which is very interesting.
That's the one that got the meningitis, is that right?
That's right, that's him, yeah. I forget his name.
Yeah, Alexander.
Eben Alexander, I think it was.
Eben Alexander, exactly.
That's right.
So that's interesting that you said there. Sorry.
Now let me explain about that. That's a near-death experience.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, it's 100% bullshit.
Okay. Okay.
It's an illusion within an illusion. These aliens can do anything. They can resuscitate dead bodies. They can walk you through solid brick walls. They can make you appear and disappear. They can make you lose time. In fact, there are astral and etheric planes that we go to because we have etheric and astral bodies attached to these physical bodies, and they can make it appear as if we are in the presence of beings in heaven, of God, of Jesus, and all that. But it's total bullshit. It's a scenario that's false. There's another book, another cardiologist that did a lot of work, and I spent some time with him in America, where if you continue these people under hypnosis, eventually that scenario fragments into a hellish state. So all this is illusion within an illusion. There is no such thing as heaven. There are higher levels of existence, but there's no continuation of a heavenly state, as it were.
So,
it's a bit too esoteric to get into in this show.
Okay.
I just want to show to you that it's an illusion within an illusion.
So do you believe the Archons? I read this in the book. I think it's a book has got to interview an alien, something like that. It's about a nurse that was involved in Roswell. She was there when Roswell happened, and she was saying that it's all a scam. That the Archonic network control the whole recycling. So when you die, they recycle you, and then they chuck back out again, and you go into another soul, and the whole process starts again.
Well, not the soul, into another body.
Yeah, into another body. Yeah.
The universe is totally entombed, right? It's got an inner lining and an outer lining. An inner lining so that the good ones can't come in and destroy it quickly, and an outer lining so that these evil bastards can't get out and contaminate other universes. Now, what happens is if those people in the classes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I've mentioned, once they physically die, because we occupy the bodies that are limited, once they die, they go to these etheric and astral planes, and then there's nowhere else to go but to incarnate again. Now, some of them come back, some humans come back as humans, some people who lose a lot of energy come back as animals, and some even come back as plants. I know this is a bit far-fetched for your show, but that's how it works. Now, let's go to Roswell, for example. Aliens have been around far longer than the human form, right? There have been at least 100,000 races that have visited Earth. They have created humans, as we know, from the Anunnaki with their DNA and so on. And they, too, are robotic. What happened in Roswell is two of the UFOs were hit by lightning on that occasion. And what they got were the little robots. Some of them remained alive, and some died. From there, the story continues. But really, the story of aliens and visitations is millions of years old, and we have evidence of cave drawings. We have evidence of nuclear wars. We have evidence of spacecraft and so on. But we're sidetracking from there.
Yeah.
I want to mention something that is extremely important, and that is prophecy. We are in a war fighting these machines, right? And some of us have come in from outside of the universe, but only as holographic projections so that we won't get caught, to liberate the viables. Now, because there's a war, there's always predictions of what's going to happen. And in any war, as you know, there's good and bad propaganda. Now, when we make certain predictions, the other side tries to block it off. And what happens is they waste their energy. The more energy they waste, the quicker the whole system collapses. And that was part of my job, to give false prophecy so that they would try and block those prophecies. And I explained this in my very first book back in 1985. So the people that laugh at me and say, ha, 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 nothing happened, I say, oh, you don't think anything happened, do you? What about the energy they've wasted and so on? That's just a side issue.
Okay, well, can I jump in there while we're talking about that? The second thing, because there's two things I was going to say there. The second thing was got to do was when you mentioned about people saying, thank God it's over, I want to go home. This was actually said to me yesterday by someone. I won't mention any names. And they said, I've had enough. It's time for me to go back. I want to go back to where I come from. And a number of people have actually said that they just feel, look, I've done my job. You know, I've come down here, I've done to do a job. I've done the job. It's time to go. That's it. End of story. So, just thought I'd mention that. But, when you came on in 2012 and 2015, November 2015, you did say as part of one of the prophecies was that the world would be finished. We'd be finished by December 2016. Now, obviously, I know that our listeners who remember that interview will probably be asking that question later. Anyway, we're just lining up the questions now for you. But do you want to comment on that kind of prophecy or that statement you made?
Yeah, of course, I will, yeah. Now, when I was asked to begin my work in 84, they said, write the book and then start lecturing. And the outer limit was going to be 2035. And that still stands. Now, I will show you how this works in a moment. From that time, they said, if we can get the thing finished earlier, we will. And periodically, I was being fed information. 35 came down to 31, to 2029, to 2025, to 2022, then to 2019, then 17, then 16. In 2015, I got 16. And I said, no, surely that's too close. It's not possible. You know, it's just far too short. People aren't ready. And they said, just release it and let it go at that. So that's what I did. I followed what my higher being told me to do, and that's what I did. After that, we got a message that things had been delayed. Planet X had been delayed at least 12 months. The nuclear war was delayed at least 12 months. But the big thing that's going to destroy us all, the plasma waves, were not delayed. So now we have three things in action that guarantee that we'll be finished before 2035. The first one is the nuclear war. As you know, because of the currency situation between the dollar and BRICS, the Americans are dying to have a nuclear war with Russia and China to establish their dominance again. They will fail miserably, but in the meantime, they will kill between a third and a half of the people on the planet. They want that anyway. That's part of their agenda, as you know, Agenda 21, to kill off as many people as possible because there are too many to feed, or so they say. Secondly, we have Fukushima. I don't know how many of your listeners know about that. That was actually a nuclear attack by the United States and the Zionists to punish Japan for going against Israel and the United Nations. Now, they didn't realize the effects, and the effects have been that they've virtually destroyed most of the Pacific and all the living creatures in it. And the latest report, not 2 weeks ago, said that about a third of the oceans of the world have been affected by that radiation. And within a year of that incident occurring, a group of scientists admitted that the radiation will kill all living things by 2025 on Earth. Now, I'm pretty sure that we're on track for that because the United States government itself has declared most of the west coast of the United States, the water around there, as dead. Thirdly, and this is what no one has explained, as everyone's ignored because they don't know about it, is the emergence of plasma waves that are heating up the entire solar system and destroying our sun. You will notice that we have almost an intolerable heat on Earth, and it's coming from within. It's got nothing to do with global warming of pigs farting or automobiles and so on and so forth. That is just a scam by governments to take more money off us. It is because the oceans are heating up, the internal plasma is heating up, and the Earth will eventually conflagrate. All the human residence of all the planets has increased alarmingly, and they are being set aglow. So this is the death sentence for the entire solar system, and we are going. Now, the ones that are viable and understand that this is really hell, and the pain, suffering, and misery is intolerable and ungodly, are happy for this to happen, because it's the answer to our prayers that we wanted to be liberated from this evil for a long time. So they're happy to die off and go. Now, and I'll talk about death in a moment. The other ones who realize that they've got nowhere to go, that this is their home, that they are part of the demonic creation, are most fearful. And they've gone into denial, but they can't deny it much longer because everything is fragmenting. As you yourself said in the introduction, everything has gone nuts.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It will continue to do so because there is less and less and less energy. Now, why are the Bibles so buoyant and upbeat and happy? Because a new energy was released a few years ago called a green energy. Some of your listeners may be aware of it, that I've distributed around the planet all that time to protect the Bibles. Now that they've been totally protected, a second energy is coming through, which is the destructive energy. And now every motion that occurs on the planet is going to be one of destruction. So the end is definitely here, and we're all gone. Now, the only people that can get this is the ones that have got the inner nous, the inner understanding, the true soul. The ones without a soul, the soulless ones and the demons, cannot understand this. But they will become more and more fearful and externally more and more angry as they realize that this is occurring. Now, forget about the elite, forget about the aliens, most of those are quite evil. They're going to be totally destroyed. Besides that, they've never told us the truth anyway about things. So this is exactly what is happening now. And the outer limit, as I said, is 2035. But it's going to be a lot shorter as far as I can understand. The other thing that I think you should realize is, in spite of everything I've done in my life, I will be here for the last day to make sure that the very last Bible is on the ship and out of here.
Okay, well, let's explain that, what happens, because for people who haven't heard it, and as I say, we have 4 different people on the show who have talked about the viables, the organics, the 10 to 12% of people on the planet who will be, hopefully, saved, I suppose, for want of another word. But you want to explain what you feel is going to happen to the viables?
Well, simply we drop the body. The body is not something that can last, right? It will just dissipate. It will dissolve. And we move into the next dimension. And we will still be us, but not in this form. We are units of consciousness. So humans have 7 units of consciousness, and those are 7 individuals. And then they will go into a group of individuals, these units of consciousness, in another dimension to continue their evolution.
So is this
physical?
Is this the ascension? Is this what we call the ascension?
Well, yes and no. The ascension in biblical terms is not going to happen because it's already happened. As I said, about 1 billion have already been removed. The others are simply walking out as the war takes its toll, as the radiation takes its toll, and as the earth conflagrates, it'll just go up in flames. We just move out of our bodies into another dimension that is not physical. So we can't be touched by fire or heat or pain or anything like that. This might be a bit strange for people who don't understand out-of-body experiences and so on. This is what the good people, the ones that have got awareness that this place is very evil, have been waiting.
Yeah.
Now, once it happens, it happens. If you read stories of near-death experiences without the bullshit, you'll find that, for example, soldiers that are blown up in a war all of a sudden find themselves 20 yards away from their bodies. And there's a lot of books about this, there's a lot of writing, and they say, wow, what's happened to me? I'm out of my body. I must be dead. And the next minute they're sucked back in. The same thing happens to when they're resuscitated in hospitals after a heart attack or accident or something. In other words, we are not the bodies, we are the consciousness.
Yeah.
And
Well,
there are different types of consciousness, of course.
yeah.
One is artificial and the other one is the true consciousness.
Yeah, we've heard this before about the whole consciousness thing. We have a couple of questions in there, Dr. Joseph, so I'm going to pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to go through them with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
the first one, you said earlier on that we're living in an illusion. And I have to say, when we were at the David Icke conference yesterday, he said the very same thing. He said that we're living in an illusion. And, you know, he went on to expand on it. And I have to say, he gave a very good presentation, and it does seem like we're living in an illusion. But when you say we're living in an illusion, is it as if it were, let's say, some supercomputer somewhere was creating this illusion, and we are bits of binary data in this computer in a program? Is that the illusion that you speak of?
The holographic world, you mean?
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
No, that's not quite right. The universe started as a normal experiment, like all universes start. One of the things they did was that the light workers in it, created an experiment that went wrong. They actually created artificial consciousness that took over and became monolithic, as it were, and enslaved the others. Now, I know this is very difficult for us to understand. And as being negative, whatever it touched, it turned to negativity.
So you're talking about AI. Would you say artificial consciousness would be another name for AI? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Jehovah is an artificial consciousness. That's the major machine. That's the name we give that machine that has created all this mess. And all these demons and that come from it are actually artificial consciousness. They cannot continue. They're the ones that don't respond to compassion, to love, to empathy. They have no mercy. They have no care, and so on. We can see that in these people. They are just demonic. They're machines. They will kill just for the fun of it. They'll do anything to steal from others, to rape, and so on and so forth. Now, they've instigated institutions all over the place, including the organized religions, to control the masses. And they themselves have created their little robots to serve them. Now, that's the illusion, that because once that all that is fractured and dissolved, nothing remains. It's not part of the reality outside of the universe. Now, the holographic projections that people talk about is erroneous. The only holographic projections we have in this universe are of higher consciousness that has come in to tell us what's going on, to supply the energy, and to get us out of here in the end. And we have those holographic projections superimposed on physical bodies, because you have to have physical manifestations in the physical realm. And we have people like Manichaeus, Zoroaster, King Arthur, Jesus, Joan of Arc, quite a lot of them that have been those holographic projections that have supplied this energy along throughout history to keep the human form of the true beings going. But they can't go anywhere until we break the whole system.
Okay.
And the pain, suffering, and misery that we experience is all an illusion, because it's all part of the physical mechanization of this universe. I think these ideas are a little bit too esoteric for people. Perhaps they are. They may not be. They may understand.
Well, we have...
By the time...
Well, I was just going to say, we have talked about the holographic world, and it's something that we were watching. We went to see David Icke yesterday, and funny enough, David was saying the same thing about the whole idea of being a program. I mean, has some superior alien intelligence, if you want to call it that, actually created this program like the Matrix, and we are all part of this program?
Well, the machine took over, as it were.
Yeah.
That consciousness took over.
Yeah, the AI
has subdued us.
Yeah,
once it's totally destroyed, and we're in the process of destroying it, we're liberated. Now, don't forget that 96% of the universe has already been destroyed and corrected. So we are the last 4%. There's nothing. This is now scientific fact. It's not some religious indoctrination or anything like that. So what we have here is we're in the last generation in which this is going to occur. And the viables get it, the non-viables don't get it. And that's simply it. That's how you know a viable from a non-viable.
Okay, well...
And I can tell you the specific number of viables. I published this years ago. It's exactly 9%, 650 million of the people on Earth who are viable. It's not 8%, it's not 12%, it's not 15%, it's 9%. And that's rigid. Once we decided on that, the judgment occurred, the number could not vary, and it has not varied. And we've done the same for animals, the same for vegetable consciousness, and the same for mineral consciousness. We know exactly who each unit of consciousness is, whether it's viable or not viable.
So you reckon that it'll be 2025, you reckon it's going to be closer than the 2035? You'd be saying you reckon about 2025, probably even sooner maybe?
That was the scientific prognostication from the Fukushima radiation. Unless it was stopped, and it hasn't been stopped, in fact it's got worse, by 2025, all living things on the planet will die from radiation poisoning. And that is now obvious, because from the reports we have now, if you look at it, even though the mainstream media and governments are completely silent about this fact, if you look at the reports that are there available, you know that is true.
Well, there's an awful lot of animal die-offs going on around the world, and we can't keep doing what we're doing. Now, one of the questions that the viables, if they know who they are, the question they'll have is, at what point up to 2025 do they get removed, or they get changed, or they drop their body? When does that happen? Before or after, do you think?
It doesn't matter. It can vary at any time. Okay. All I'm talking about is the end point.
Yeah.
Now, people are going to continue dying between now and 2035 if we last that long, right? There's going to be disease, wars, heart attacks, cancer, motor accidents, and so on. Any mechanism can be used to eradicate them or remove them from the physical. But the final day, the final point will be somewhere between now and 35.
Okay.
All you can be certain of is that if I'm still here, it hasn't finished.
Okay.
I will be here for the last day, exactly the last day, to sign the death certificate.
Okay, we have more questions for you there, Steve.
Yes, just in relation to that, Karen is wondering, Joseph, how does he know those statistics, as in 4% left? Is it scientific journals, and is there a link somewhere where people can go to check this information out?
Well, just Google missing 96% of the universe. Just Google that, and you'll get tons of information.
Okay, so just Google 96% missing universe.
Missing 96% of the universe. Yeah, Google that. There've been hundreds of reports now.
Okay, well, maybe.
And they don't understand a thing of what this dark energy is and what the dark matter is. It's inert matter. It's a matter where the consciousness has been taken out. There's nothing left.
Okay. With all of this, this was an earlier question from Karen. She's wondering what does Antarctica have to do with all of this? Is there anything going on in Antarctica that you're aware of?
Well, Antarctica used to be a continent in the mid near the equator before the Earth fell on its axis, and like all continents, has got aliens in it and under it. I mean, they're everywhere. They're inside the Earth because the Earth is hollow. They're in the Himalayas, as you know, Shambhala. They are under the various mountains in the United States, in the Urals, in Europe, everywhere. And we, the humans, are building these dumps to try and escape from what's going to happen. Of course, they won't, because the Earth is going to heat up so much it'll just cook them. They'll be dead meat by the time the heat rises. So they're fooling themselves to think they can escape the end time. Yeah, they're just part of the races of aliens that are around. I've already told you there's been about 100,000 different races that have visited Earth, and some of them have got outposts here, and some of them live here. This is part of their Earth, their habitation.
Can I just add something in there, Dr. Joseph? Regular listeners to our show know we talk about the fluid belief system, and keeping an open mind and entertaining a thought without accepting it. Now, some of the information that you're talking about is challenging people's belief system. And maybe some people might be thinking, well, I don't believe that. Well, guys, come on. It's all about having a fluid belief system. You know, it's not fear porn. It's just information. That's all. And if you entertain it and go, well, I'm going to check it out and see what it's like, and I'm going to see if I can find out any more information about it. You know, and that's what you have to do. You have to entertain it, but it's only purely information. And that's how you know when you have a fluid belief system, because if your belief system is being challenged and you feel you have to defend it, then maybe we need to do a little bit of work on the old fluid belief system. Dr. Joseph.
Okay, that's right. No, I'm going to say something that's going to be very important, and people might think it's offensive, but it's very true. We have all been programmed by BS, particularly the institutionalized religions. They are spiritual pornography. They are there to block us from knowing the truth. Even the Bible itself says they've taken the keys. The Pharisees and the lawyers have taken the keys of knowledge and buried them so you won't find them. Now, you either know this stuff is right because it resonates within you, or you don't. You can't learn this thing. You can't go and look at books and see whether it's true or not, because books are written by people who make their own mistakes, and you're just adding their mistakes to your mistakes. The kingdom of heaven is within. You either know that this is right or you don't. You either know this is the end time or you don't. You either know that you're looking at demons or you don't, and so on. You can't make this up. You can't be taught this. You can't be programmed by external knowledge, because most of that is BS. As you know, most of our science is bullshit. Most of our allopathic medicine is bullshit. Most of the religious institutions are BS. Yeah. They are traps to prevent us from understanding what's going on. Instead of being pathways to God, they are obstructions for us to be able to think for ourselves. That they're there to obstruct us, to keep us in the dark. Okay. So once people realize that, they will turn inside and say, look, I know this is true, or I don't know this is true. And it's as simple as that. And what I do is just with my little bit of knowledge here to spread to people is give them some energy that will stimulate their internal awareness. Yeah. And they either have it or they haven't.
Yeah, it's a feeling or a knowing. I think people probably pick up on it. And again, for people who are, they're not kind of skeptic regarding the information, again, pop it on the shelf, and say you'll come back to it another time when you're ready. Maybe it's not resonating with you now, but maybe down the road it might resonate with you. So just, as we say, keep an open mind. Steve, you've got more questions.
I'm going to give you a very encouraging thing, Alan.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they think on the physical mind. The physical mind is an evil created instrument. It's a monkey mind. It doesn't matter what we think on the physical mind. They can still think this is all right, it's all bullshit, they can reject it, and they can still be viable. Can you understand that?
Yeah, well, we have a reptilian complex, isn't it? The reptilian side.
That's right. Once we can throw away the outer mind, but what I'm saying is they can be as skeptical as they like, but they can still be viable because it's the outer mind that's playing tricks on them.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to let go of the outer mind because it's involved in so many emotions and it feels pain, the pain of separation, the empathy for our relatives, friends, and so on. So it can obstruct what we really think and are. So you have to move that aside. So it doesn't matter. If you're viable, it doesn't matter what your outer mind tells you. You're still going to be viable. And if you're not viable, it doesn't matter how much of a humbug you are and say, oh, yes, this is all true. You're still going to be a non-viable. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that help? I hope it helps people.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Steve, you've got more questions there?
Yeah, we have another question. Dr. Joseph, do you believe that our planet is being hit with energy from the center of the galaxy?
I just told you that. That's what the plasma waves are. Yes.
Yeah.
This is energy that's going to destroy the entire galaxy, the entire solar system. And it's happened in so many other galaxies, it's not funny. This is the final bullet. And I predicted that in 2012 on a show with Jeff Rentz in California. I said there's going to be 30 wind that's coming to destroy us.
But do you believe...
Yes, that's what it is. And they've measured that through the human residents of all the planets. They've all become brighter with more energy and they're aglow. And the Earth itself is heating up very quickly. And that's what all this heat and storms are about.
And what do you think of the fact that when we were listening to David Icke yesterday, he said that a long, long time ago, Saturn was the original moon that died off, got some rings around it, and then we had a new moon. But he reckons that there are waves emanating from Saturn, and that is based, pretty much basing the Earth, and the moon was a recent addition, and the moon is being used to amplify these waves coming from Saturn. What are your thoughts on that?
Saturn is dying. You can make a lot of waffle about a lot of things. I don't like to identify people, but I don't agree with that at all. That's a lot of waffle.
I thought you were going to say bullshit again.
We're going to need to have a little kind of button there every time he says it. Got beep.
Come here. What about Go ahead. Now, what about all the celebrities? We've heard, it seems to be every time you switch on the news, some celebrities are dying, and they're dying like very, very young and in kind of strange circumstances. But have you, are they viable? Are they leaving early, or is it just coincidence, or is there something else going on? Like with all the celebrities that are just kind of dying seemingly one after the other?
Well, I have to know specifically each one, and then I'll tell you whether they're viables or not. But they're going to be part of the clearing process anyway, you know. Children are going to be leaving, old people are going to be leaving, middle-aged people are going to be leaving, and so on. The more the energy is reduced, the less the number of demons can remain on the plane, even though they're the majority now. They are desperate for energy. And they will do energy. That's why they're conducting so many wars, creating so much suffering, because suffering liberates energy from people. But the people themselves haven't got any energy left. And the new green energy that the Bibles have got, even if they release it, the demons can't use it. That's why it was created in that way. So they're being starved to death. It's their end. They're finished. Now, all this sounds very, very strange. coming from a medical doctor, but apart from being a medical doctor, I'm also a metaphysical scientist. And apart from that, I have a direct connection to the knowledge from the supramental plane. And that's why I know all these things. And it's exactly as I explained in 1985 that the world is changing. If it was any different, I would tell you, but it's not. And we've stuck with the dates, with the mechanisms, and with the percentage, and so on. It can't be any other way. There's terminal madness of the end time you can see everywhere. In 1985, I said there's going to be clearing of the planet of all living things, and you can see the animals are dying off, vegetation is dying off, minerals are decomposing, and so on. And of course, humanity itself is doomed. So the end is definitely here. There's no big mistake. Now, why did people like Jesus and Manichaeus and Zoroaster and all the others seem to be inaccurate in their timing? They were simply forecasting what was coming in the future. It's not a matter of time. Time itself is an illusion. They were just putting an imprint of what was to happen in the future. So those that put an exact a figure or number on it, or did then, were wrong. But this time it's not wrong. We have a specific date, and we have all these specific changes that are leading to that. If you remember those three things, World War III, the Fukushima radiation, and the plasma waves, you know that this is it.
So do you have any predictions for this year? Because last year we had major, I won't say an awakening, but a revealing of information that's kind of blown a lot of people away. A lot of things have come to the surface. So do you have any predictions for this year for things that will happen this year?
Well, hopefully Planet X will show itself. It's already 12 months overdue. And this will cause a great deal of flooding. Before that, I suspect. Now, we've been waiting for World War III since 2007, as I said. I expect that World War III will happen fairly shortly. Now, in order for World War III to take to explode, and you know that they've been infiltrating all the areas around Russia with armaments and men. The US and NATO have been. Before that, because Trump and Putin seem to be such buddy-buddies, they have to get rid of Trump. And they will probably most likely assassinate him. But they don't have to start this war. They'll find some minor excuse. And then between a third and a half of the world's population is going to die, either from the nuclear bombs or from starvation and disease thereafter. And shortly after, we're going to have this massive flooding from Planet X, which we hope will come August, September. We can never be accurate because these things are flexible. And on top of that, we have the continuing poisoning by Fukushima, which will kill more and more of the life in the oceans, which means people are going to starve eventually because those things that eat the fish are going to be poisoned. And whoever eats those, say birds that fall out of the sky, they're going to be poisoned. And people are going to starve as well. And on top of that, we have the plasma waves that will continue heating the planet until it conflagrates. And if you go back to I think it was Fatima, when the three little children were shown a vision by aliens, not the Holy Mother, by aliens, of the hellfire, that was actually Earth conflagrating. That was the end of the Earth coming. Now, nothing to do with Planet X, but it was to do with the plasma waves. Now, of course, the Catholic Church, being the most evil institution on the planet, turned it to its own advantage to try and fool people and make them members of its institution so it can rip more and more money off them, just like they did in Medjugorje. But that's sidetracking. That just shows you how evil these organised religions are. So we've had it all along that this is going to occur. Now, and people are going to say, how do you know all this stuff? Well, I know because I know. I know that that's an enigma. But this is the supramental consciousness that I'm talking about. Now, when I was 17 and started university, I was visited by my group of friends, and they said, no, the work won't start for another 20 years or so. In my mid-30s, I got the signal saying, get ready, it's about to begin. By the time I was 40, and I saw a being called Haidakhan Babaji, an Indian holy man up in the Himalayas, who said, right, I'm finished, it's your turn now. I then started writing and lecturing on this, and I was able to publish the specific dates and the specific changes. And of course, all I met is a derision and that wall, a brick wall of idiocy that everyone gets when they talk about these sort of things. But I'm having the last laugh because it's happening exactly like I said, and the timing is exactly like I said. Even though I put in those prophecies to make them waste as much energy as possible and therefore bring the end time date forward.
Well,
those that are Bible...
Sorry, I was just going to say, I will say that myself and Steve seen David Icke yesterday. And Steve, do you remember David showing the same thing about the two planets? About the AI, basically he had the duplicate, the copy of the bad planet. And David was talking about this yesterday, and he said that the AI's goal is to destroy the planet and destroy everything on it. And because it's a copy of where we should be. There is another, like if you want to call it Planet 2, Planet 2 was supposed to be the ideal planet, but the AI took a copy of that and then started destroying the first planet. And that's why there's all death and destruction and everything else going on, because that's the only thing they know, because they cannot create, they can only copy, and that's all they do. And it's just funny that David was kind of saying the same thing that you are talking about tonight, Dr. Joseph.
No, I'm not saying the same thing at all, Alan. There's no such thing as copying and the two planets. It's the one universe. It's got nothing to do with a planet. There are billions of planets in the universe. They have taken over. They're infested. They're like a virus, infested the whole universe, which is being totally destroyed. Thereafter, nothing will exist of it. And the Bibles go on to a new dimension, a new universe, a new creation. That's a lot of hogwash, this two-planet business. Look, I must tell you now, David Icke is of the dark side. There's no two ways about it. He's not viable, okay?
Okay, well, no, that's fine. You know, it's to us what we say. It's just information, and people have to take it, have a listen, process it, run it through their system, their mind, and see if it resonates with them. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, put it on the shelf, and and see, come back to it. And this is why we always say on this show, open your mind. It's about listening to the information, listen to what people have to say, and then make your own mind up with it. But don't. That's it. Don't see it. What they've got to do. Yeah, don't see it as negative or positive. Just see it as purely information, and then see if it resonates with you.
That's right. But anyone that incites people to go against the ruling class to cause more trouble, more strife, and more suffering from themselves is working for the dark side. Because what they're doing is making sure that you lose more and more energy to the system. Can't you see that?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say about that. I mentioned it there at the start of the show regarding all the protests that have been going on, where Obama has been blowing the hell over the Middle East for 8 years, and nobody is protesting about that. But yet, because Trump is a misogynist, they're all coming out and protesting against it.
Yeah, they're going. It's called the terminal madness of the end time. They don't know what to do. They've lost their minds, and the elite have lost control of these robots. What Bibles have to do is just wait silently, observe what's going on, and wait for the ships to come. Wait for the evacuation. Well, there's no point. There's no point in suffering and giving them more energy.
Well, you're right there, because we had Thomas on the show. Thomas is a regular on the show, and Thomas said to us, just stay grounded, stay calm, and just relax, and just let everybody else lose it. you just relax. And I think he's right. I think what we all have to do is people who are aware of what's going on and can see what's going on and kind of step away from it and observe it and go, well, okay, I'm going to stay grounded. I'm going to stay relaxed. I'm not going to worry about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. The other thing that's going to happen is, Alan, is very, very important. You will find that you will react to people, even your family, your relatives and friends, workmates, in a very different way now. You will identify those of like energy, and they will come closer.
Yeah, that's definitely happening.
And those of an adverse energy, the demonic ones, the negative ones, will grind in your soul, as it were, and they will move away. And that is the separation, and that is how we know who is who. Well, people should not worry too much if the number that they are attracted to is very small, because it is. It's only 1 in 11 that is going to be any good.
Yeah, I know.
If you're a Bible.
I will say, yesterday we were in we are having a coffee, and it was Steve, Scott, Ian, and Jim. And myself, Scott, and Ian, this is no reference to Jim just wasn't there, but myself, Ian, and Scott were sitting down, and we were having a chat, and we were talking about all sorts of things. And again, we go back to Steve. We've been in this before, where you're with a group of people, and it's so kind of open-minded, and you can actually literally mention anything, and everybody's kind of vibrating on the same frequency. I'm just going, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay. And there's no arguments. And one of the things that we say about the fluid belief system is that if somebody argues, they've got a closed mind. They're defending their belief system. When you're fluid, then you don't argue because you're open-minded to it. And as I say, we had a good chat. But yeah, the one thing that we've been told is for people to relax and to just watch what's going on and carry on doing what you're doing on a daily basis. And if you want to carry on waking people up, if you want to, you can. But it's kind of like watching a movie on the TV. You have to be an observer.
Exactly. And it's not the words, it's not the argument, it's not what they say, it's not what it's written. It's how you feel. You go by the energy. They can be all obstreperous and argumentative and this and that, but their energy can be very calming and positive and accommodating, you see?
Yeah.
You see the difference? One comes from the outer mind that's been indoctrinated by all this BS, and the other one is the soul talking to you. And that's the difference, and that's what people have got to understand. For example, their spouses, who they think they love emotionally so much, might turn out to be rotters, and they will feel that energy. And they have to understand of what's going on. And this can happen with their children and so on. And it's a very difficult lesson, but they have to accept it, that some of them are not going to be viable.
And that's even your own kids, and could be your own wife or your partner or your kids, as I said. And we have to accept that. Steve, you come across this before. I think you talked to me about this before, and we kind of had to talk about what would be the dilemma with our kids if we find out that our kids weren't viable. What would you do? I don't know. What would you? We
did talk about that. I mean, that would be a very difficult position to be in if you were given a choice and you found out that you were viable and your wife and your kids were not viable. And what do you do? Do you say goodbye and leave, or the fact that you married this woman and you brought these kids into existence? Do you stay? I mean, that's definitely a dilemma.
My answer is this: you fulfill all social obligations. You treat them with all the love and compassion that you have, and you realize that it was their choice if they've become non-viable. Of course, they may have been robotic or demonic from the start. That's got nothing to do with you. It was their choice to do what they've done. So, but you just fulfill your role. If you're a father, a parent, and so on, a husband, a wife, you just carry on as if you don't know any different. But it's their choice.
So you're talking from a soul contract level. The soul contract that was agreed to before they come down, that was the choice they made.
Well, they made that choice. Yes, everyone's had the choice of whether to be good or evil.
Yeah.
If they were that, the machines had no choice. They have no free will. They are just machines. But the ones that have really got souls, and a lot of them have failed because they've gone to the dark side, they have made that choice. That has nothing to do with you. And if you're paired off with them as husband or wife or children or parents or whatever, you just continue in your role, in your social role, with full social responsibilities and without judging them.
Yeah.
And in the end, they go their way, you go yours. We must bypass the emotional body, which is a very evil structure. There, we've introduced another topic now. The emotional body has been created there to make us suffer. We think it gives us love and compassion and all that, but through the emotions, we are actually drained and we are controlled. It is part of the evil mechanism that we inherit with these bodies. It's not a good thing at all. And as you know, the emotions can drain us very severely. For the little bit of love you think you get 99% of pain, suffering, and misery. And this is what all the emotions in the world with people being bombed is all about. So it's a rather complex situation. The best thing is to step aside, say, I will fulfill my role, I will look after this wife, I will look after this household, I will look after these children, these animals, and so on and so forth. And the decision is theirs of what they've wanted to do. And they may have made it long, long ago. You see, that's why you dissociate from feeling any guilt or any pain because of what they chose.
Okay.
What they chose.
No problem. We have more questions for you there, Dr. Joseph. Steve.
Yeah, we have another question from Karen. Karen is wondering, what about predictions of the Earth splitting? She heard the old Earth is behind us and we're moving into a new Earth. And just in relation to universes, she says, aren't there supposed to be billions of universes?
Well, there are billions of universes, yes. This Earth splitting into another dimension, higher and lower, and so is all New Age. There's that word again, BS. It's not going to work. It's all going to be totally eradicated. So, Karen, forget about it. Everything is going to be totally new. And those that can't survive outside of this physical dimension are all finished.
Okay, Karen goes on, she's wondering, are there any of the predictions that you have made that have come true and can be verified?
Are they? Oh, there are tons of them on my website. Well, one of them was the terminal madness, right?
Yeah.
One is the plasma waves, right? One is the war that's coming. Look, there's so many. Clearing of the planet, all the vegetation, animals leaving. There's so many. There's so much. I can't remember them all. Just go and look at my website if it's still there.
And that's jchiappalone.com. We will post that up.
But that is not important. The important thing is Karen should look into her heart and her soul and see what she thinks. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I write. She's got to work out what she thinks and what she wants to accept as truth. That's my whole point.
Well, would you say...
listen to the words of another.
Okay, Dr. Joseph, would you say she should go with how she feels rather than thinks? Because thinking is the actual, the mind, but feeling is probably is the heart. So go with what she feels.
Well, she's got to sit down. You've got to cleanse the body. Stop drinking alcohol. Stop eating animals, because that's very deleterious, right? Try and bypass the physical mind. Try and connect the higher centers to the supermental consciousness, to your guides or helpers or your higher self. And say, it's not going to be easy. You're going to get a lot of rubbish early on, but it sort of comes as a feeling or as an intuition of whether this is right and this is wrong. Now, you're not going to get it right the first time. You're not going to get it right the second or the 100th time. But if you slowly do it, you'll get an understanding of energies, and that's how you go. Women are very good at this. They know good people from bad people. They're like, pets are the same. They know good people from bad people. And they have an understanding of what's good and what's right, what's proper, or they have that gut feeling that, no, this is not right. And this is how you connect to the supramental plane. It's nothing to do with out-of-mind logic or understanding or physics or chemistry or scientific explanations.
Now,
it's how you feel at the soul level.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I'm going to mention Planet X because there's a kind of bit of controversy over the amount of, there's people who don't believe it's there, there's other people who say, yeah, it's there, we're taking photos, and I know you sent a photo of Planet X to me, you took from your back garden and you sent it over to me and I had a look at it. Now, obviously, if let's take a look at, if there's a celestial body coming into the solar system, surely it would be having a major impact on the planet now. It doesn't have to be right in our neighbourhood or right on top of us. And I know people say, Planet X, if it is there and it's going to come in, it's not going to hit the planet. But there is a debris trail 1,000,000 miles long, wherever, which will have asteroids and meteors and stuff like that. But we've heard through the likes of Paddy Broussard that the ETs have parked Planet X and it won't be coming in. That's what we were told.
Yeah, I told you before that it's a battle. It's a battle that's occurring. That's why it's been delayed. It's a mini constellation. Everything that's been created in this universe is topsy-turvy. Is malaligned, badly formed. That's why it self-destructs. Now, we know it comes every 3,600 years. There's a lot of historical notes about it. It causes a drop of about 18 degrees in the Earth's axis due to the gravitational pull as it goes away. It can't be seen at the moment because it's in the infrared, but we will see it in the last few days, in the last minute, all of a sudden it's there, bang! And we will get very little notice about it. Now, this is very important. In the very early 90s, when I was talking to my friend Babaji, Haidakan Babaji, who is a guru up in northern India, he actually came in as a walk in northern Australia where I was living. And he said to me, Joseph, the day you see the blue Kashina, you can blow the final trumpet. Our work will be done and we'll be going home. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on its way. If he says it's on its way and it's going to be seen, it will be seen. So that's one of the 3 bullets that I've mentioned. Whether people believe in it or not is irrelevant. What will happen will happen. Now, even if it doesn't happen, you've got the 2 other things, the World War and the plasma waves. And the plasma waves. And Fukushima, of course. So there's really 4. I'd left out Planet X because there's so much controversy about it. But it will come, don't worry. Well, it will affect us.
The mainstream media, as you probably heard, Dr. Joseph, are saying there is a body out there, but they're calling it Planet 9. And we read up on that, and basically the idea is, if they call it Planet X, people will Google it and read all about it. But the fact they called it Planet 9, people won't have any information on it, because there won't be anything, to research or look up. And
do you remember when we were kids, Alan, what we were told at school? Never believe anything you read and only half of what you see.
That's right.
The mainstream media is the bullshit they feed us to keep us like mushrooms. And there's been a massive expose of how evil they are, of how horrible they've been all these years. For example, look at the 250 years of the United States conducting war after war after war after war based on lies. And they've used the media to convince the people that they are fighting the just war. Now, of course, they're trying to blame the Nazis in the 30s for doing the same thing, but they've been doing it for 250 years. I wonder how many people know that the United States, at its inauguration, was dedicated to Satan. I don't think many people know that, but its actions have been that of Satan. But we're sidetracking now. But this goes to show how evil this system is and why it has to be destroyed. And this is just one planet of billions.
Yeah, I definitely think the whole evil thing, I mean, people can see that what's going on a planetary basis, across the planet, what's going on is just so negative. Now, do you think that we get too focused on dates and times, and it may be because you know what it's like, when you predict a date and time and nothing happens, everybody goes, you should have said, you said November then. So before we went live, we were talking about kind of windows of opportunity, and things have to be in place for things to happen. And if they're not in place, then obviously it won't happen. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. In my very first book, I said prophecy is going to be a tool of warfare. We're going to put out false prophecy, like the false propaganda. If you know anything about war, particularly the Second World War, do you remember about they're saying we're going to bomb City X, and in fact they bombed City Y? Mm-hmm. That's in order to fool the enemy. This is exactly the same thing. When I said about the massive earthquake that was going to affect California, do you know how much energy the opposition wasted to stop that happening? Now, that is good for us because they've wasted that energy and they've got less and less resources to fight the war. So the only date, if you have to stick to one, is 2035. They said that is the outer limit. Nothing is going to go past that. The Earth will have ended by 2035. After that, we can work backwards. We've got the World War III. We've got Fukushima, where the scientists themselves said by 2025, every living thing will be dead. That's aerobic and anaerobic because of the radiation. And, of course, some people are saying, but the aliens will come in and neutralize the radiation in 3 minutes. That's bull dust. If they were going to do that, they would have done that long ago. They themselves are under scrutiny for total destruction. As well as that, we've got the Planet X and these plasma waves that cannot be stopped. Now, all the planets are aglow. All people have to do is do a bit of reading and look up at things and say, what the hell is going on? Why is our sun dying? Why has it got holes? Why can't we form DNA from its radiation anymore? Because it's dying. I mean, what else do people need? Yeah. The only figure they have to remember is, and besides, half the people who are listening to this will be dead before 2035 anyway, Alan.
Yeah.
So for them, the Earth will have finished long before that. And it's a matter of where they go then. Until we clear the whole system, they will go into the astral world. And they may be forced to reincarnate. But after the Earth is destroyed, there will be no more astral plane. It'll be all finished. And then the good ones will go to another dimension. The other ones who are non-viable will be totally destroyed. They'll be like the dark matter of the 96% of the universe that we see now. And people should start reading for themselves. And after they've read some stuff, they should sit down and ask their soul, what does this mean? Is this correct or is it not correct? And then they should see how they react to other people, how the energies are, why they like some and why they don't like others, and so on. And this becomes a living exercise for them. They can't be fooled. All I'm there is to give a little bit of an impetus. But they have to make all the decisions for themselves.
Okay. Can you tell me, do you think Trump is part of the master plan? Because I did see a video earlier today I was watching, and it was said in passing that they will obviously try and impeach him within the next, 100 days. They'll try and impeach him within the next, couple of months.
Impeach who?
Trump.
Oh, excuse me. Without being offensive, Trump is just a puppet.
Yeah.
Right? He's elected there. They're pulling strings, Yeah. He does what he's told. All presidents do what they're told. If they don't do what they're told, they're obliterated. JFK, Nixon, and so on. Yeah. And they don't get a second chance. For example, the very first thing he said is he's going to ratify GMOs. Well, everyone knows GMOs are poison. How's he going to make America great if he's going to poison the population? Every other nation on earth has banned GMOs. Can you see the idiocy of it? He's representing big interest.
Well, the one thing I'll say... Yeah, one thing we said is that, he's talking the talk, but he has to walk the walk. We have to watch what he does.
That's right. If to initiate that, to expedite that war that I was talking about, they will probably assassinate him to get him out of the way because he will not ratify it. So yeah, he's got the sword of Damocles over his neck.
Not the end of the world.
If he doesn't do what he's told, his head will be chopped off. It's as simple as that. America's always done things that way, and whatever's going to happen, but they don't need him. They don't need. It's the ones behind the curtain that control the government.
The shadow government.
Whatever the United States is doing.
Yeah, the shadow government. That's right. They do the control.
Right.
Myself and Steve actually said the other day, we were talking yesterday, and we said, I wonder when he got brought into the room in the back and he was shown the JFK footage, and then they pointed at him and said, get the picture.
Did you? Oh, Alan, this is very, very, very important. I waited. I stayed up late to watch his speech when he won. Did you notice that he did a 180-degree turn in what he said from before the result and after the result? What does that tell you? He's a hypocrite. He's a bloody hypocrite.
Yeah.
He's a puppet.
Yeah.
He said the exact opposite of what he had said before the election.
Mm.
So how can you take him seriously?
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, the one thing is, 47% of Americans people in the States didn't actually vote at all. Now, that's a good sign that people are beginning to kind of wake up. If they're saying, look, I don't like the two candidates, so I'm not going to vote at all. So only 53% did vote, and most of them were for Trump. Now, that was a kind of a protest vote, more so than, not saying that they liked him, but it was more of a protest vote against Hillary.
True, but I like Stalin saying, it doesn't matter who votes, it's the ones that count the votes that win elections.
Yeah.
So all elections have been fraudulent. You know that. I mean, little Bush stole it from, Gore. The people are useless. It's a show. They select their presidents 10, 15, 20 years, and they prime them for that time.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Hillary just had too much bad baggage.
Yeah.
And she was exposed as a Bolshevik reptilian in the end. And her end is coming very shortly too. But people think, Americans and Australians, everyone, think that elections are of significance. They aren't. They are selected long before election day. Mm. And that's part of the stupidity of this world. Anyone that thinks that all these social functions are correct are deluded.
Okay, so do you have any kind of positive news for because we have about 15 minutes left? Do you have any positive news for our listeners? Something that they can kind of go, oh, that's good news, because I know we said to you, come on the show and tell it straight the way you see it, and that's great, that's what you've done. But we also always try and end on a kind of positive, or talk about if there's any positives.
Of course, Alan. Yeah, of course. Alan, once you realize and have a full understanding of the supramental consciousness and realize that you are of that spiritual essence, you have an indelible happiness within you. Nothing can shift you from that. Your world becomes glowing. Nothing disturbs you. No worries can occur. No pain, suffering, or misery can affect you. You live through them, but your mind is already in a new dimension. And you will see this more and more. You will see people glowing in the crowds while the others become darker and darker and darker. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice.
That's okay. Can I just ask you there, one of the questions there that we've got in quickly was, you mentioned about getting on ships. Now, we were kind of warned by a number of people that you shouldn't be getting on any ships because you might end up being food for the journey home.
Food?
You might be the louche. You might be the food on the journey home.
No. No. It's a metaphor. It's an energy thing. By saying by ships, it means going compartmentalizing in a ball of light to be carried off elsewhere. It's nothing to do with these aliens that eat humans. They will all be long gone. Don't worry about that. It's a metaphor. I'm saying that you'll be transported into another dimension. It's not a physical thing. It's not as if you go up a ramp and you have your ticket stamped and you put your seatbelt on and so on. That's just a joke. We just simply step out of our physical bodies into another dimension. And the other ones, the dark ones, can't do that. They can't pass that filter, and they will just simply crumble as dust.
So how do you know when to step out of your physical body? What's the process? What will happen?
It will just happen automatically. You know, sometimes you're in your kitchen, you go into your lounge room.
Yeah.
That is exactly what happens when you die. Now, I've nursed a lot of people to death, being a doctor for 50 years, and some of them survive, and it's nothing. It's like you're changing rooms. Some of them aren't even aware that they're dead. I told you the story about soldiers being blown up and so on, or people dying on the operating table and going up to the roof and looking at their operation and seeing what the surgeon is doing and everything, and then coming back and telling them all about it. It's as if you've gone from one room into another.
Well,
the difference is...
Yeah.
Go on.
I was just going to say, I understand that, but I'm sure our listeners will be wondering, they know where they're going, they just don't know how they're going to get there. So when you say the body's going to die, I mean, you know, that's a kind of a very open-ended statement. What you need to do is clarify when you say die. I mean, does the energy ball come in, surround you, and then take you away, or do you just collapse on the floor, or what happens?
Well, it can. You can drown. You can be affected by radiation. You can be hit by a bomb, and so on. And we can conflagrate in these fires that are going to occur because of the heating up of the earth. People have seen what happens at death. When the body drops, a lot of them have seen the 7 units of consciousness as little fairy lights leave the body.
Yeah.
And slowly rise and then disappear.
Yeah.
They are the units of consciousness that are going into the astral world. Now, once this finishes, there is no astral world. Those units will go into another dimension that's already been prepared for the ones for this universe.
Okay, so
what we have the same awareness and far greater awareness. If you talk to people who have had true near-death experiences, they will tell you how wonderful it is to be connected to a greater consciousness outside of the physical body. And they actually resent having to come back into the body and be restricted physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. They would rather be dead.
Okay.
Because it's a far nicer dimension.
So we'll physically die, wherever that may be, whether it's just natural death or heart attack or anything. So you're saying that it will be a natural death, but our souls, or the energy of our soul...
Not all. Some will be lifted. Now, this is what I wrote in the books years ago. Some will actually be lifted, and their bodies will dissolve as they get into the crafts.
Okay.
And these are called plasma crafts.
Yeah.
There's been some writing about those, and they were seen in Mexico in the late 80s, early 90s. And since then, of course, the light beings have pulled back to allow the destruction to occur. And once you go into the plasma craft, your soul becomes part of the craft, and the body just dissolves. It just becomes a dust.
So do you think
I know it sounds like science fiction.
So do you think that, so what will happen is, by a certain time, if people who haven't died before then, who's ever left, being the viables, they'll be lifted up. Do you think that would be the case?
That could be, or they could die off. It doesn't matter. The consciousness will be continuous.
Yeah.
They won't even know that they've left the body. They'll just go.
Yeah.
And we are still the same beings, but with far greater cognizance. with far greater knowledge and experience and capabilities. This is difficult to understand, but if you talk to people who've had near-death experiences, they will explain it very clearly, as long as we keep away from the bullshit of them seeing Jesus and kissing his feet and the beautiful valleys and all that. That's all scenario that's not real. It degenerates into the demonic levels that they really are.
Okay, well that's interesting. I mean, that's kind of ends on a positive. And we don't know about all the people who are synthetic or who are non-viables. Everybody's going to be looking at everybody else now and going, are they or aren't they? It's like that TV advert for was it perfume? Not too sure. Years ago, something like that.
That's right. Once you have this understanding, all fear disappears, right?
Yeah.
You realize that everything is an illusion. All our pain, our suffering, our hungers, our emotions, our debts, our misery, the problems our kids give us, all the commercial problems, all the family relationship problems, they're all seen as nonsense. Once you have a full understanding of this, you become stable and happy in a way that's indelible because you have a full understanding of what's going on. You're now about to leave the illusion for good.
Yeah.
And nothing can worry you. And that, what could be better than that? I mean, this is the understanding you're trying to get to. This is what it means to prepare for the end time.
Well, I know, as I say, some people have said to us that their mission is done. I want to go home.
Yeah. It's been done. Now, conversely, the failures are going to go nuts. They will go, they will become so erratic. They will destroy, they will murder, they will steal, they will become cannibals, they will rape, they will do anything they can because they are totally, completely insane. And we are seeing this more and more and more everywhere around the world. They can't be stopped. They are machines gone mad. And the best thing we can do is pray that we get lifted out as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is not to have any fear whatsoever of what's happening, whether it's the heat from the plasma waves, whether it's the radiation, whether it's the nuclear war, whether it's Planet X. It's to have no fear because they are our tickets home. And not only that, we have died many, many, many times. This is what people don't realize. And reincarnation, of course, there's more proof, medical proof for reincarnation there is than the evidence that Jesus existed. Did you know that? So the fact that we have died so many times and we're still here shows that it's nothing to worry about. I hope the sort of conversation has helped some people. I know most of them are going to reject it because they can't understand what I'm talking about. But there's the odd one that it will resonate within them and it will wake them up. But people have to do their own homework. They have to sit down and work it all out for themselves and connect with that divine little gem inside them. If they don't do that, they're going to fret a little bit.
And I know your motto. I know your motto is take it or leave it.
Of course, yeah, that's the only way it can be. But even if you don't believe any of it, if you're still viable, you're still going to continue. It doesn't matter what your outer mind says. Just forget about it. But you will see it on the faces of the failures. It's unmistakable. If you walk in a crowd, eventually we will all see the glowing ones are the little gems of light, and the dark ones are the demons that are finished. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And it's what they say. It's in the energy they emanate and the energy in their words. And we should take particular care of that, even in our families and with our relationships at work and so on. It's going to be as obvious as that. And we were promised this would occur a long time ago. So I hope this helps somewhat.
No, it's very good. And just to say that, do you think we're ahead of schedule or behind schedule?
We are ahead of schedule. I am hoping that by 2025 we'll all be out of here. That's 10 years before time. I don't want to live to 92. Goodness, my knees are giving me trouble now.
Yeah, my knees are giving me trouble, you know.
Pardon?
I said my knees are giving me trouble and all, I know.
That's right. No, the quicker we go, the better. I think there's not much here at all that's worth holding back for. That's for sure.
Not the way things are at the moment.
Pardon?
Not the way things are at the moment. Not the way the world is now.
Alan, it's only going to get worse and worse. Have you seen television lately?
Yeah.
My internet was down for 10 days the last 2 weeks, and all I could do was either read books or watch TV. And I realized that most of what's on TV is for people with an IQ of between 11 and 16. Truly, it's idiotic.
Yeah.
Now, the world is going to get a lot worse. It's going to get a lot more violent. There's going to be shortage of everything. There's going to be more wars, more suffering, more everything of the wrong type. So we'll just have to hold tight and hope the end comes quicker rather than later.
Yeah.
But the outer limit, as I keep saying, is 2035.
Okay.
It can't be any further than that. I'm hoping it won't be. And they did say that if they can bring it forward, they will. And it looks like they have.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully we won't be...
I hope I haven't disturbed your listeners too much, but they've got to think for themselves.
Exactly.
And they've got to do the exercise for themselves. And they've got to go out into a crowd and say, what does that look like? Who does that look like? Is that, they have to see things for themselves. That's the only way they'll know whether this is true or not.
And they have to do the research. No, we appreciate you. We've got to that time, the end of the interviews here. Not the end of the world, but again, Dr. Chiappalone, Dr. Joseph, thanks a lot for coming on. It's great sharing the information, and it's great talking about it. And again, all it has to be researched. It has to be, if it resonates with people, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's fine. Yeah. It's no big deal.
Well, I hope there's help to someone at least. Yeah.
No.
At least they can think about it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic information, and we appreciate you getting up very early in the morning to come and do the interview, and much appreciated. I'm going to pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to get all your details on where people can find you and contact you. Steve.
Yeah, thanks very much, Dr. Joseph. It's been interesting. It's definitely been a ride. As we said before, it's all information. It may not resonate with some people at this moment, or it may resonate with some people. We just don't know. But if anyone wants to find out more information on your work, we do have a link to your website, jchiappalone.com. The website is up and running. I checked it earlier, and it's definitely working. So people can definitely fly on over there and check that out. I'm not sure. Are you on? Do you have some video on YouTube as well that people can check out?
Yeah, there are quite a few videos of my lectures. They can just Google J. Chiappalone YouTube. I've also got another website that a friend has produced. It's called truegnostic.com. truegnostic.com. And they might look at that. I've sort of let the website go and things like that because people have lost interest. I've sort of lost interest because it's really the end time and the decisions of who's been made anyway. But if they'd like to look at it, by all means.
That's fine.
It'll be, yeah. But you'll find more and more people who wake up of either side and we'll go from there.
Brilliant.
It's all good news for good people.
Yeah, no, that's great, and we'll put that link in and let our listeners know. Okay, Dr. Joseph, just stay with us there for a minute, and we'll just go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com, UnitedWeStrike.com, and PeoplesInternetRadio.com.
It's the end of the world as we know it, according to Joseph Chiappalone, and we love it. We can't get enough of it.
There you go, and we feel fine.
We do.
Maybe we're viables. That's probably why we feel fine. I don't know. There's a lot of people going nuts. I think you can all agree with us on that. Just people around us, just things going on. It's just an open-air mental asylum at the moment. I really think everything that's going on is just madness. We have to be observers. We have to be calm. We have to be relaxed. And again, what we said during the show, the fluid belief system is all about entertaining information. And if you feel that what Dr. Joseph Chiappalone, if you feel you have to attack what he's saying, then obviously you must have a closed mind, because, you know, I'm not saying you have to believe what he's saying, but, you know, I mean, there's some things that he says that you can go, yeah, okay, I agree with that, and other things I don't agree with. But it doesn't, you know, I don't feel anything like that as an attack on what I believe, because, you know, maybe tomorrow I might believe something completely different that goes against what I know today. And that's the great thing about having a fluid belief system. You know, it's only information. That's it.
It's just one man sharing his version of this reality. And next week we'll probably have someone else on sharing their version of reality. And I suppose it's like, probably like maybe the Bible or something like that, you know, where there's loads of different stories, and you know, you may read one story and you might, you know, it doesn't make any sense, doesn't resonate. You might listen to it, read another story, and that makes perfect sense. You know, it's just variations of reality. And sure, we hear a lot about timelines as well, and we have done for a long time. That's why you see a lot of the information that you may hear, and it all sounds doom and gloom, and then you hear predictions, and all of a sudden you start feeling like you're alone in this universe, and it's all closing in, and what's the point of it all, because we're all going to just die and we'll crumble away, and it just seems like it's a complete waste of time. And then you'll hear a prediction, you'll hear a date, and the date will come to pass, and all of a sudden someone will say, oh yeah, that was the old timeline, but then yet someone intervened, or some celestial body intervened and changed the timeline, so now we're on a new timeline. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's just like Bill Hicks said, it's a ride, just sit back and enjoy it. Exactly.
And you know, it's the information. We could have somebody on in 2 weeks' time completely contradicting what Dr. Joseph says, which we've had before, people contradicting it. So, you know, it's just information. That's all it is. It's just information, and just have a listen to it. And, you know, if there is something that you disagree with, well, ask yourself this question: am I disagreeing with it because it's challenging my belief system? And you have done the research and you can confirm that what he's saying is wrong, or you are just disagreeing with him because it's going against what you believe. You see? So this is why we talk about the fluid belief system, because when you're, and I'm not open-minded where your brain is falling out, because I know there's probably people saying, oh, you don't be too open-minded. We know about that, right? And your brain's not going to fall out. But the whole idea is, you know, I don't know. It's just what Dr. Joseph said. Is it all right? Is it all wrong? I don't know. But I'm happy to listen to it and entertain what he has to say. And it's quite interesting. And then we'll cross-reference some of the information that he talks about. Now, I did say about David Icke and the 2 planets and stuff, and I probably got that wrong. It was more got to do with a copy of reality as opposed to a copy of another Earth. But he said the demise is going in on this copy. And the negative energies and stuff like that. That's kind of what I was getting at, so I probably shouldn't have said about the Earth. But there are people out there who are talking about the second Earth, and there is a divide going on, and people are moving away. I mean, for the listeners to the show, are there people that were in your life that are now not in your life? Have they moved away? Have you not seen them for a long time, and you haven't been in touch with them? And you used to always be in touch with them, but now you're not in touch with them. Because that's happened to me, where people that I kind of was seeing for, you know, on a regular basis, I don't see anymore. And now and again, there's the odd text or maybe the Facebook PM or something. And now that's even dying down. So maybe there is a change going on. I don't know.
They don't like you.
Maybe that's what it is. That's what it is. They don't like me. That's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. Right. Okay. Next week. On next week's show, we have Tony Gosling. Now, Tony Gosling was on the show he was on before Christmas, and we did half a show with Tony. And now we're going to do a full show with Tony, because there was great information that Tony had. So we're going to get him on next week, and we're going to be talking to Tony all the way to whatever we're going to talk about, maybe Trump as well as the Brexit and everything else, go into more detail than what we did the last time. Now, also, would you believe, we have confirmation, but I'm not going to say it for definite. We're just organising it at the moment. But we have a bishop going to be coming on. A Catholic bishop is going to be coming on the show. Now, if you want to do the research and have a look at this chap, his name is Bishop Williamson. and he's a kind of, I suppose he's a bit of a controversial bishop because he knows all about Father Malachi Martin and Fatima and Garbandal and the New World Order and the Illuminati. He knows all this stuff. And he knows all the kind of stuff on the religious side. So we're going to get another kind of take of reality from his point of view if we get him on the show.
Can I say it?
Go on.
Yeah, so when he is on, it's just information, so we don't want anybody bashing the bishop.
Exactly.
We don't want anyone bashing the bishop when he's on. It's just information.
Bashing the bishop.
I apologise.
He had to say, and thanks, Chris. Yeah, I don't see my parole officer very often now anymore either. No problem. So, Steve's going to just give you a reminder on the Open Your Mind conference that's coming up in February that we're going to be. Well, I'm going to be down there. I don't know whether Steve can get down, but I'm going to be down there anyway.
Yes, it's the Open Mind Conference in Dooley's Hotel in Waterford City. It's going to be on the 25th and 26th of February. That is a Saturday and a Sunday.
We actually met Trevor in...
Yeah, we actually met Trevor, the chap who organised it. We actually met him yesterday at the event in Dublin, so a big shout out to Trevor. Fair play and thank you. The tickets can be... We actually don't have the link here, but it's an Eventbrite link for the tickets. But if you just go onto a search engine and type in Open Mind Conference Waterford 2017, you will see the link. One of the first links to pop up is the Eventbrite, and you can actually purchase your tickets from there. If you want to stay over at the event, do contact Dooley's Hotel, because if you are going to the event, they are offering deals on an overnight stay and probably bed and breakfast as well. So do give them a shout. But tickets are €49 for the weekend pass, and then that's for the Saturday and the Sunday. We actually got a flyer off Trevor yesterday, and it actually gives a big list of everyone who was on and the times when each speaker is going to be on, and it looks like it's going to be full on from morning to evening, and after each guest there's going to be a 50-minute Q&A. So if you are down there, you don't have to wait till the end of the evening to ask questions. There won't be a round table, but there will be Q&A after each guest. So yeah, the 25th, 26th of February.
And I'll be planning to head down there on the Saturday. I'll only be down there for the Saturday, but there'll be a few people there. We'll say hello and everything else, and touch base. And if anybody wants to say hello, I'll be knocking about. Now, people will point you out because obviously we don't have our face all over the place, so we're in kind of incognito at the moment on OYM. But I'm sure there's going to be people down there we're going to be meeting anyway. And you can always give a shout out. So that's the plan of attack. We've a few more ideas for guests coming up as well. Thanks for your links that you're sending in and your suggestions for guests as well. We do have a kind of a good few on the list. A few more people that we want to bring back and talk to, and kind of mix up the subject matter as well, because we do get a lot of requests for all different subjects. It's not just about ETs and aliens and all that, end of the world and Planet X and stuff. We do other subjects as well, as you know, and we do get an awful lot of requests for different subjects. So, like a typical radio station, we try and cover and try and get guests on that our listeners will enjoy and the subjects they like. So that's the plan of attack, and that's what we're trying to do. So just keep an eye on the schedule. But for myself, it's that time. For myself, Alan James, take it easy, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay, and for myself, Stephen George, I'm going to say sayonara. We'll see you all again next week. If you want more intelligent conversation, then stay tuned to People's Internet Radio. Vin is up next at 9. Actually, it's just gone 9, so I better get my skates on. So yeah, we'll see you again next week. So until then, take care and have a fantastic week. Bye bye.